I want to be world's strongest man. I don't want to be a 505 kilo deadlifter and that's it. I want to achieve my max potential and I want to be the best I can be in all aspects of life. I think with autism, people will progress at many different speeds. There's some people who could be high functioning with autism, like me. They could learn to do things quickly, but then other things they'll struggle with because they don't understand how to kind of cooperate it and kind of process it. Obviously, I learned that people can be idiots and people can be nice depending on who you're with. Like, obviously, at the age of 15, there's so much immaturity to the point that my autism couldn't handle it. Like, I'd get overwhelmed with like the smallest like bit of like a nudge or a bit of sarcasm because I didn't understand sarcasm. Luke to Tom is like Mark was to me, because obviously Luke's helped Tom a great deal and obviously Mark's helped me a great deal. So the first thing Mark said to me when I met him for the first time in the gym, how are the lights, how's the sound, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I remember,
And like that was new to me. I was literally, even if I was in like CAMS, which is like the kind of child adolescence thing. So my name's Byng, 21 years old, I'm from Stratford-on-Avon. I started off my kind of sporting career in athletics as a sprinter and long jumper, believe it or not, and over the years transitioned to the throwing side, and then now I'm doing Strongman.
Welcome to episode 2, and I'm sure I'm going to say this every time anyway, but I've got a very special guest today. Byng is with me today, so Lewis, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day.
No worries, I appreciate it.
Lewis, I would hate to tell people who you are and probably get it wrong. I mean, I know how to say your second name anyway, and actually a lot of people ask how do you say your second name, don't they? So let's just tell them how you say it.
It's Byng, like the search engine, but with a Y.
It's a special version. Yeah. But, you know, Lewis, tell us who you are, how old you are, and you know, where you've come from.
So my name's Byng, 21 years old, I'm from Stratford-on-Avon. I started off my kind of sporting career in athletics as a sprinter and long jumper, believe it or not, and over the years transitioned to the throwing side, and then now I'm doing Strongman. So over the course of those years I went to a few European championships, broke a few British records in shot put. Now I'm doing the Strongman, got a British record in the deadlift right now, had a world record, got beaten.
Sore subject, but we'll
sore subject, yeah, one day. But yeah, apart from that, just living life, trying to become the best I can be.
No, that's good. So, obviously, you took such a transition with where you've gone from, you know, there to where you are now, and today I wanna really dig into, you know, why you've ended up where you are now, and also like where the future is for you as well. But before we dig deep, there's always a gift that I get everyone to bring me. I'm hoping that these are getting better and better, and one day someone will bring me like, I don't know,
£1,000.
Yeah, well, I was thinking more like a Bugatti Veyron. I mean, obviously £1,000 would be nice. But no, so the gift really, like the whole point of this is it's just something we do every single podcast, and I want a gift to put on the wall there that represents you.
Yeah.
Okay, the first one's already up there. For the guys who have not yet seen the first episode, watch the first episode and you'll understand why there's a condom on the wall. And a compass.
Just Dean's condoms. So, what I've got is, it's a special thing from me from 2012. It was from a competition I did in Wenlock when I was 10 years old, 100 metre sprint, and it was the time where I ran 13.8 and I won. And for that year, I was ranked first in the UK for 100 metres, and that was kind of the competition that kind of put me in first in the UK that year as a sprinter.
Nice.
So it's just a nice little gold medal from 11 years
ago. Are you
ago.
leaving me your gold medal?
Yeah.
Is it real gold?
It's not real. I wish it was real gold. If I was 10 years old getting real gold, I'd be very happy.
Wenlock Olympian Society.
Yeah.
So this is to say, yeah, camera. So this is to say, this is the start of your journey of who you are now.
Yeah, so
I like it.
I was obviously always involved in sport, even from below the age of 10, but that was kind of the competition for me, which got me into competitive sport. Obviously, I was only 10, so it wasn't necessarily super competitive, but it kind of allowed me to build the mindset over the course of the next 11 years I've had to where I am now. But I think that was a big stepping stone to what I'm doing now.
I like it. Thank you very much. So yeah, we'll put that on the wall next to the condom, and we'll see.
See what it builds up to.
We'll see what we can build up to. But no, I appreciate it, mate. And that's where your journey started at the age of 10, officially. So let's look at like who you are and what you stand for. I'd say in the last couple of years, your profile's risen quite a lot, hasn't it? And you've become more well known, I guess. Like, what would you say sort of like is the thing that's sort of got your name out there? Like,
well, obviously, I did my first Strongman competition in kind of May 2021. It was just after the second or third lockdown, and I did the UK.
Isn't it funny how everyone refers to the lockdowns now?
Yeah, exactly. I did the UK Strongest Junior. I came 5th. I was really happy with that. Then I did another competition in Preston, the Chaos Strongest Teen. I broke the British Deadlift record when I was 19.
Yeah.
So the under 23 record, but I was 19, so I was very happy. I didn't peak for it, just turned up
and pulled it.
3 days before, 371, and it moved well, really happy. And then I think the big thing for me was the 400 kilo I did, the ugly 400 kilo I did in January 2020. That kind of put me on the map with different accounts, like people sharing it, getting some followers, getting some haters, getting some
all part and parcel,
some friends, that kind of stuff. But I guess with social media, people got to realise is no matter what, you could literally be the most safe sound person, you could do everything right, but there'll always be someone jealous or someone not liking what you do. And obviously when I first started like TikTok and Instagram, I'd get hate comments, that kind of stuff, and it would annoy me to the point that I actually deleted TikTok in the first lockdown.
Did you?
Because like no matter what I posted, it could have been like just me being nice and I could have got hate. But with today's kind of society, you need to have thick skin through this. And again, with sports, social media is the big thing when it comes to building a brand of yourself. So that's one thing I realise is if it is hate comments, just it's extra views at the end of the day. If it's good comments, you can respond to it however you like, because obviously they're interacting with you in a good way.
How did it make you feel, like the hate comments?
I guess.
What sort of things would they be?
Just obviously to do with the technique and that, and obviously the size of me, that kind of stuff. It was just like a wide variety of things. But one thing I realised is they're not me. Not many people can do what I just did, let alone a lot of things. And I think with that, I just came to myself that I did something pretty special. And obviously people are going to be annoyed, because when it comes to like people sat at home on their kind of keyboards, you get the keyboard warriors no matter what you do. You could be a gamer, it could be a streamer, it could be a sports person, and no matter what you do, you're going to get everyone. You get a few people being nice, but until you get to the point where you kind of, like for example, made it in a certain thing. So like if you were like World's Strongest Man, all the haters then will probably be happy people for you. They'll be, oh, I wanted you to do this all day long. But until then, you got to just like kind of grin and bear it, ignore them, get on with what you're doing, work hard.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? Because obviously, I get a lot of hate as well, and it's a funny scenario because people deep down just want to be a part of what you're doing, but in a negative way.
Yeah. Because
let's be honest, right? How many people do you, see something that they do and dislike, or even just dislike people generally? Because we've all got different opinions, we've all got different viewpoints, and live different lives. Sometimes you can just not like someone. You know what? That's fine. But why do they need to actually tell you that? That's the point, isn't it? And I always think like when someone still has to tell you, although they don't like you, then they're doing that to be within your bubble. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's sort of like it's a weird one, isn't it? Because if they were strong enough to sort of like be thinking, I don't like this guy, then they wouldn't contact you.
Yeah, I think.
But they're actually going out their way to tell you they don't like you, or they don't like what you've done, or whatever it is.
Probably feel excluded. They probably feel like out of the picture.
No matter,
even if it's people I don't even know. Like obviously with most social media, with the comments on TikTok, I don't know 95% of them. Obviously I've got the people that follow me and I follow them. Obviously we interact on a daily basis, but with some people they kind of comment consistently. They could follow me as well and they can comment hate all the time. It's part and parcel with like 2023 kind of social media, I guess. Yeah.
But I guess it's always going to change and evolve. but you've just got to make sure that you ground yourself, haven't you?
Yeah.
So let's just touch on the world record. So obviously you didn't put a massive amount of prep into this,
No.
yeah, because you have this inner strength, right? Why did you want to break the world record first of all? What sort of things were going through your head, or what? Do you know what I'm trying to say? What got you thinking I can do this?
So I did the 400 kilograms back in January 2020, and then I was doing my peak for the UK Strongest Junior. Actually, that was the first competition I actually peaked for on Strongman. I learned a lot of things from that, like a lot of experience kind of learned. And then a few days after that, I just, as I used to do, just YOLO'd a triple, a deadlift triple, 367.5, and I was like, oh, okay, that moved really easy. And obviously I spoke to Mark, obviously at the time it was annoyed, and I know that. But then I was like, I could probably pull 410 tomorrow if I wanted to. And we spoke to him. I spoke to some gyms that were doing comps, and one of my local gyms was doing a comp, and there was a date set, and it was only like 7-8 weeks from the day they kind of decided to do it. And obviously, I always say to myself, I already knew that I could do it. It was just more making it look a bit easier than the 400, which, in my opinion, it definitely looked a lot easier than the 400 did. But I guess when it comes to me and my belief, like, for example, when I talk to my mates, if they're doing, no matter what they're doing, if it's gym, work, social, if they're going to do something, I like to say to them, talk in absolutes, not potentials. So if they want to say, like, I might go to gym today, but potentially will go and do some cardio, like, I would say to them, just change what you're saying. If you're going to say it out loud, say it to yourself in the head, then say it out loud, say like, I'm going to go and do this, I'm going to do that. And sometimes you're not going to be able to fulfill that, I think, but if you have enough belief, you're not going to be mad at yourself if you don't do it. But if you then say, oh, I could potentially do this, I can potentially do that, and you don't do it, you kind of already setting yourself up for a little bit of failure.
Yeah. Why do you say that, out of interest? Where have you learned that from? Or
I've got a lot of mates that kind of, I think, in a nice way, kind of look up to me a bit, and obviously I look up to them in different aspects of life, and I like to think that with some of my really close mates, that obviously we helped each other through different situations, different hard times, and like when it comes to their mindset versus my mindset, I think that I can learn from them and they can learn from me. So in like the real world and like social life, with my autism, I do struggle with some things, and they kind of help me with that, and I guess I kind of help them with the thinking behind like achieving things, because obviously I've achieved quite a bit. Obviously that I've not achieved anywhere near what I want to achieve by the time I'm done yet, but I think that with kind of my experience in the last 11 years of doing sport, I kind of gained a lot of knowledge, and obviously I've been around lots of professional psychologists, different sports people, different elite athletes, and I kind of picked up over that time.
Yeah, and that confidence builds, doesn't it? And you can pass that on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's powerful. So just obviously for people who don't know Mark here, so Mark's one of my best mates anyway, but like Mark actually kind of introduced me into training. He introduced me into proper training, I will say, but I trained before. Me and Mark sort of like trained together as such, but he's been with me through my whole journey. Like I say, he's literally a brother to me. But who is Mark to you? And what has he done for you? Because I know he's done a huge amount.
He's done a lot. Like from like the aspect of, he reached out to me a few years back, and at that time I was doing shot put only, and then obviously he was saying to me, "Oh, you'd be pretty good strongman. Obviously I've seen your deadlift, seen you over a press, and I like to try new things." And I'm happy I did try new things, because now I'm doing something I really enjoy and really love. But Mark to me he wasn't just a coach. He was a great friend. Great
Mentor.
role model, yeah, exactly, and because he's obviously been through the athletic side of things with the throw-in, and obviously he did the strongman, and I think with him he kind of grounded me a lot more than I thought I could be grounded. Obviously I'm still not as grounded as I want to be, and I'm working on that with regards to training and just being a sensible person sometimes.
You do need to be sensible.
But he's done a lot for me. Obviously there was actually a clip of the live stream from my 411 kilo deadlift where I just pulled it. I walked over to the fridge. Obviously, I was very emotional the whole day because I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was crying in the warm-ups at like 220 kilo. That much kind of adrenaline going through me. Like I was trying to obviously contain it for the top set. And there's like a nice little photo of me, Mark, and my dad just like
I remember
having a little
seeing
cry,
that,
and
yeah.
it's like even if I put that on my phone now, I'll probably get a bit of a tear in my eye because obviously it was a
That's that
special day.
moment.
Yeah. But yeah, he's just a great guy.
Those moments, just to touch on that, those moments, I could feel that now for you. Do you know what I mean? Like, and it really is something that keeps me going with my pursuit in life. I'm not just I don't mean just being strongman, like everything. You know those feelings where you can feel it now, can't you? Like if you think about it.
Honestly, I'm a bit overwhelmed right now with that kind of stuff.
It's mad, isn't it? Like, and it's amazing because they're the things that, and I always, it's important to touch into those things, isn't it? Right? Because they're the things that actually make you feel you are someone.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just saying it to add in as well, but Mark's been there a couple of times for me where. Yeah, like I guess it was when I did the under 90 deadlift record, and it was like times like that where Mark's one of those people that knows how to be with you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think that's something he helps you
definitely,
with, isn't it?
Definitely. I think with the kind of emotional side, as well as being a coach or a person there, he knows what to say and how to say it, and like the body language he kind of gives off, like. No matter what, he does it really well. So like for example, if like I'm in a training session and I'm maybe a bit over my head, getting a bit annoyed, he'll know how to kind of calm me down, and I'll still get a successful session out of it. Whereas if I was on my own, I'd maybe get a bit overheated and just think, oh, forget this, I'm just gonna go home, or I'll lower the weight and I'll still be a bit annoyed and it'll just go terribly. But when he obviously was there for the sessions, it was really good because he just, especially the autism side of things, he ran a school for kids, children with autism, and it shows. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, no, I agree. So let's talk about the autism, right? It was something I was holding out for a little bit because I didn't want the whole podcast to turn into that. But ultimately, you are autistic, Lewis, right?
Yeah.
And you're known. You know what I mean? You are.
It's me.
A superhuman, and it's isn't it crazy? Because I mean, obviously nowadays there's so much talk about autism, ADHD.
Neurodiversity.
Just generally the umbrella, isn't it? And it's so. I think it's obviously don't get me wrong. The it's something that's evolved as people have understood more about it, so that's clear.
Yeah.
But what what does it mean to you? Like, obviously you was autistic from
obviously
you're born autistic.
Yeah, you're born.
But as in, like, you found out at a very early age, yeah.
Yes. I knew at a very early age. I mean, the system to get diagnosis is pretty terrible. So I wasn't actually diagnosed until I was 14.
Right, I felt like it was younger. Okay.
I got diagnosed with Tourette's when I was 8, so that was very young. But I guess with like funding.
So Tourette's at 8.
Yeah. So I guess like funding and that with the government, they don't want to give out diagnoses not randomly, but don't want to do it basically. They're very money heavy.
Yeah.
With autism and me, it is me in general. So I think I always used to say to myself when I was younger, I wish I did this differently. I wish I did that differently. And obviously a lot of the things stem from autism. So I could be in a social situation which I could have handled differently. A lot of the time when I was younger, probably from the age of like 5 to about 15, I could have handled so many situations differently. But I like to think everything had a knock-on effect to where I am now. So like, I obviously had a terrible kind of high school life. Primary school was brilliant for me, but high school, from the age of like year 9, year 10, I wasn't in school at all. And year 11, luckily I went to a school called Northley and did my GCSEs and then got to college. But I was probably like 17, 18, I thought, I wish I had a better year 9, year 10, so I stayed in year 11 so I could do like more, I had more friends, more stuff, more proms, more this. But then I think, you know what, I'm doing well now. And if I was in that kind of predicament with people my day and age, like a lot of them, not to be big-headed, obviously they have a lot of bad habits when it comes to smoking, vaping, drinking. So obviously I would never do that, but you'd be more kind of inclined if you were in that situation for longer.
I agree.
And obviously I've got a very addictive personality with whatever it could be, with like the training. Obviously people see training as a chore, training as this and that, but I just see it as part of my life and just enjoyable.
It's an obsession.
Yeah, exactly. Like no matter what it is, like if you program me to go on the bike, like I think I've got the bike in a few days, like maybe 4 years ago, but for Christ's sake, this is going to be hard. But like it's part of what I need to do to get to where I want to be, and I want to be the best. And to be the best, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? So within growing up and autism and so you see so often, don't you, that people, and I'll say it like this without it sounding too harsh, it swallows people, doesn't it, for too long?
Yeah, definitely.
But I feel like I feel like you've got a very positive outlook, a very positive mindset of actually what autism is,
Yeah.
and who you've become because of it. But what do you think? Why do you think you've had that such positive drive?
So I'd probably say, like, I think it was July 2017. I was at a competition in Birmingham, the Alexander Stadium. I came second at the English schools, and I got qualified for the SIAB International Comp.
And this is in
shot put.
Shot
So
put,
this
yeah.
was nearly 6 years ago now, and I think that was kind of the turning point in my life in the terms of like social aspects and how I kind of communicate with people. Because I then had to go to Dublin with the England team to do a competition. I didn't have to. I wanted to because I qualified and I was not going to turn it down. But that same weekend, I was doing the competition. I was meant to go to the Rubik's Cube World Championships. So it was like go to World Championships, which I can do any time of the year, or do an England International, which I may not do again depending on how much I progress over the next few years. So I decided to do the England comp, and with that I learnt a lot. Like, obviously I learnt that people can be idiots and people can be nice depending on who you're with. Like, obviously at the age of 15 there's so much immaturity to the point that my autism couldn't handle it. Like, I'd get overwhelmed with like the smallest like bit of like a nudge or a bit of sarcasm because I didn't understand sarcasm. And as you grow older, even my mates now, they obviously I know how to kind of handle it all now, and they can play on it in a good way. But like with people you don't know and their kind of humour, back when I was younger, I wouldn't know how to kind of respond to it, so I just get a bit annoyed or a bit overwhelmed and just shut off and just not sit in a corner, but like just keep myself away from that.
Yeah, I guess as well, you're trying to process it, aren't
Yeah.
you, and understand. It's really funny because when we first met, I can't be serious for too long.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
If I'm honest, like I struggle in these situations because I'm trying to be as do you know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to be a good listener, trying to be a good talker, and I often just say stupid shit, right? But that's that thing where when I first met you, I remember we spoke about it quite early, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I feel like it was something you were still trying to understand at that point, like sarcasm side of things.
Yeah, I definitely would say.
We definitely had a
yeah,
conversation,
yeah.
about it, didn't we?
I think one of the first things, I think it was when training in the gym, and you were like, I'm gonna probably, I think you said to me, I'm gonna probably say some stupid shit, but just ignore it. It's just me. I was like, yeah, don't worry. Honestly, like, it's different with like you and like Mark and people I know. It's different to if it was like the general person I don't know, like general public. Like if a random person came up and said some stuff you say to me, I'd be, what the fuck? Why are they saying that? Because it's someone I trust. It's a much different story.
It's funny because I actually said that to you because I knew that about you, and I knew that whole like, well, you know, I've studied ADHD and autism anyway, and it's like it's one of those things where it's like I know that's something you need to hear, for the right reason because that's how I think and I am. But yeah, so no, but I think that's just one of the things, isn't it, that you learn as you're going through your through your journey.
I guess the more you mature in just life in general, like I think with autism, like people will progress at many different speeds. So some people who could be high functioning with autism, like me, they could, I don't know, learn to do things quickly, but then other things they'll struggle with because they don't understand how to kind of cooperate it and kind of process it. But I guess over time, people will eventually, hopefully, land at kind of a similar position with like just life in general. But if they take their time to get there, that's fine.
Guys, I just want to stop there and take your attention just for one moment. But I want to shout out to Silverback Gymwear, who are sponsoring this event. Now, for the guys who don't know who they are, you must have been living under a rock. But Silverback have honestly, since I've used their stuff, I've realised how good quality gym gear can be. And quite simply, like, you know, this is one of the T-shirts, one of the hats here. But their quality is beyond what your typical gym wear is. I'm the sort of person that, if I'm honest, wouldn't really go out and buy gym wear. However, I went out my way to buy this simply because I felt the quality. And just to throw it in there, the designs are super cool. So if you haven't already been to them, go to the website. There's a link below where you can get a discount. But go and get yourself some and be amongst the rest of the people so that you can be as cool as them and actually hit some PRs in the gym. Thank you very much for your attention. So let's take it back to when you were, I don't know, like in your hardest phase of life. Yeah, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Like when was the painful period? Because let's be honest, growing up with autism, trying to understand your own brain when other people don't understand things as well, it can be really overwhelming, right?
Yeah.
Was it the school period or?
Yeah, I'd say like year 9, year 8, when like, I guess when everyone's going through those like puberty and changes, you kind of get the hormones, the emotions that come with it. I think year 7, year 8 were pretty good because like you're very young, you don't have much responsibility. There's not many like tests and exams, but then when it gets more like serious things and people are very immature and going through that kind of process, for me, I just couldn't cope at all, and I'd kind of be I don't know the word is, so I wouldn't necessarily be very autistic, but I'd be shown as very different to everyone. Like they'd look at me and they'd realise that I'm not kind of the typical person in high school, and because of that I get picked on. I even get like slapped and kicked, and eventually you retaliate and that kind of stuff. But I was a very kind of calm guy, so I didn't want to ever get into any altercations, because with altercations come exclusions and that kind of stuff. And for me personally, I just wanted to go to school. I wanted to try and get it over and done with and just move on with life, but that didn't happen. I ended up getting signed off by the doctor because I got in a really kind of bad mental health state, and I was at home for like 2 years. And in that kind of time period, from like year 9, the one thing that saved me was Rubik's Cube, because when it comes to kind of killing off 2 years worth of time, all I could do was Rubik's Cube, and with that it meant that I could literally spend 4, 5, 6, 7 hours a day just solving it. And with the autism, it doesn't get boring. The thing with me is the more I did it, the better I got, and I like seeing progress with no matter what I do. And obviously because it's all timed, it's very numerical, and with autism people like numbers. I could just see if I was getting better, and that saved me for that. I started doing competitions, I started doing events and that kind of stuff, and from there forward, that kind of taught me a lot, because when I went to competitions, there was a lot of like-minded people. I guess a lot of people there had autism, some people were just neurotypical, that kind of thing, and I kind of experienced both sides of things, but in a very safe environment, because everyone there was just very chill and relaxed.
Yeah. Which obviously put you in a... It's a funny one, isn't it? Because that puts you in a really good place, but then you're not technically learning the things you need to learn, right?
In the real world.
Yeah. So, I want to come on to that Rubik's Cube, because I find that really interesting, and if I'm honest, panics me even think how you do it. But with that sort of like time period that you say you know, when you were going through sort of like the struggles and stuff, like what were people saying to you? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like what you said, you got picked on and even slapped and things like that. So what were they saying?
It was just like, to be honest, because of how bad it was, I can't remember much of it anymore, because my mind's kind of blanked it out. Like from like the age of 13, 14, 15, even though it wasn't that long ago, I can remember more from when I was in primary school. I can remember that perfectly, but because it was such a bad time, like if someone asked me to kind of explain a certain situation, I genuinely can't remember anything, because my brain has literally blocked it all out. And obviously there's some things that, like for example, you be in like the queue for the class and you get like nudged quite a bit or pushed over, that kind of stuff, or thumped. But when it comes to like that period of my life, I blocked it out so much, hated it so much, that I can't remember anything, even though I may have the best memory for like some things like Rubik's Cube, pi, statistics, but in my own life I've kind of lost that bit. But
that's a brain mechanism that happens though, isn't it? And people say that you do that naturally because your brain doesn't want to store it, because it's not something that's going to make you feel good.
Yeah.
But this is that thing that I find very interesting. So all that stuff that happened there, I'm not saying to the extreme of that, happens in schools regardless of who you are and what you have.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's that thing, isn't it? But I guess at the time, you were so under pressure of feeling different.
You feel like
that
you're
it's
on your own,
targeted. Yeah. Which, I don't know, could you, if you was looking at yourself now as who you are now, looking at, you know, little Lewis, were you ever little?
Yeah, I was little.
You know, so if you was big Lewis now looking at little Lewis, what would you say?
I,
If you could whisper in your ear, like,
I could say something to him, but then it depends if he'd listen. So it'd be like probably just the easy thing I can say is ignore it because it doesn't matter. Like obviously the physical stuff, don't ignore. Obviously try and reach out to a member of staff, that kind of stuff. But if it feels like the words you're getting told and that kind of stuff, nowadays I can have people say what they want to me. I don't care. But if I could do that when I was 14 and 15, then my life would have been probably completely different. I probably would have coped so much better. But I guess when you're young and you don't realise that the world is harsh, you think it's just all harsh towards you because you feel on your own, especially in a school of 2,000 kids and you're just one. A lot of the time, the member of staff maybe don't have a lot of time for just one predicament.
Yeah.
And with that, like, until I got to probably like 18, I didn't realise like everyone has their struggles. So like for example, I could be in school and I know some teachers that probably, well, they have their own struggles and that kind of stuff. They could have personal struggles at home. But when you're on your own in high school, you think, oh, it's just me and I'm the only one who has struggles. I'm the only one who kind of experiences this, and you don't really think about everyone else. So I think when it comes to growing up, you realise that you're all just human and you all kind of have your own struggles, and it gets to the point where you've got to work out how you can move forward without kind of taking too many steps back. Because again, you are going to go back a bit because no matter what you do, it's going to be hard. But then when you do eventually get to the point where you're going forward, it's great because you got the accomplishments of it could be a sport or like your maths exams or that kind of stuff. But like you said, I think in your like kind of silverback videos and your motivational videos, goals. If you set a goal, it's very hard to kind of not want to do it. If you actually write it down on paper or say it on like on social media, you feel inclined to do it. So when I did the deadlift world record, the deadlift competition, and I set it to do in May, and I did it in July. I made it very apparent that I wanted to do it on social media because if I didn't do that, I still would have done it. But
but it gives you that public pressure.
Yeah, and then I definitely felt the pressure on the day, especially like I said with the adrenaline. I woke up at like 5 a.m, went for a little walk, had a shower, got in the hot tub, chilled, and I didn't have to be at the comp till like 11. So I was just trying to kill time because even though I got to sleep late, 'cause I couldn't sleep.
Didn't need sleep that night.
No, I didn't need sleep. But like I said, when I was warming up, I was doing 120 kilo, 170 kilo, 220 kilo, and it was kind of like overwhelming. But again, when it comes to like learning how to deal with that kind of anxiety and that kind of adrenaline, I think I was pretty good at kind of calming it down. So I was just in the corner with my headphones on with Mark and kind of doing my own thing where everyone else competing. Obviously, I like to see my mates do well. I had a few mates there competing, but for me that day it was my kind of brain.
That was too big of a day, wasn't it, for you to be mingling? Yeah. So, obviously, being overwhelmed and being different is such a huge part of like that growing up sort of thing. But would you say right now that you have? I wouldn't say mastered it because I don't think there's ever. We are mastering as we go through life, right? I don't think anyone can ever turn around and say I have mastered it. But do you feel like you are mastering?
Yeah.
As you're moving through life?
I think right now, as of like the last probably few months, I'm in the best kind of spot in life. I think I posted about this the other day. Everything that's happening in my life right now is the best it has ever been. Whether it be my social life, my training, except for the leg, my kind of my body image, my kind of confidence, and all that kind of thing. Everything's really good. My mental health. Like, I can't really complain too much because obviously you're going to have, no matter how good you are doing in every aspect of life, you're going to have some things which aren't going great. And that's part of life. You can't do anything about that, I don't think. But I think it's taking the small wins and actually thinking about them. Because, like, for example, one kind of example I use, when you feel ill, you think, oh, I wish I felt better. What did it feel like to be, like, not ill? But then when you feel good, you don't really think about, oh, I feel good now, but you just feel better. So you don't think about it.
You're not grateful for the time you are.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing I always think about. When you are doing well, kind of acknowledge you're doing well, so that when
when you're ill, rather than thinking, I always think about this just to throw this extra bit in there. Rather than thinking, what's it feel? I want to feel good. How about thinking about like what could I do to make me feel that little bit better?
Yeah.
Do you know? And again, that's appreciating the steps to get back to good, right? But yeah, I like what you're saying, because you don't. Yeah, people don't look at when I'm good. They don't shout about it and be like, "I'm good."
Yeah. Exactly. Like I think with like that analogy, if you are doing well in life and you're accomplishing goals, obviously you'll be happy at the times you're doing it. But if you don't properly kind of process and think about it, when you are going for that kind of down path and not doing so well, you'll just probably dip off a lot more than you would normally, because you don't appreciate that you can eventually get back to doing well, and you didn't really take it for granted. And like people say, don't take it for granted. Take it for granted. You've worked hard for what you're doing, and appreciate what you put in to get there. Like obviously, but lots of sports people, they put a lot of work into it to what they get to, and when you or me or anyone else gets to a certain point, everyone else who's been in that similar situation knows what it took to get there. So again, they can appreciate that. I think everyone's so much more interlinked than they've realised, because I guess a lot, well, I see it on TikTok a lot, no one has like a new thought. Everyone kind of experiences the same things throughout life, I think. So when it comes to, I've experienced this, most people have probably experienced it, but to us in a similar situation. So it's kind of like everyone can appreciate the small things.
Yeah, yeah. But as well, going off on that, it's different per person, isn't it? And that's the thing that I think sometimes when you think you're going through a hard time, or, you know, or it could even be the other way, where you're going for a really good time and someone else is also doing that. So actually it's like, whether it's good or bad, like, you're not the first one to feel that way.
Yeah.
But it's just that you see it in a different way, because you're you, I'm me, but we're all ourselves, aren't we?
Exactly.
What sort of things do you like? Because obviously autism is so big, isn't it? So broad, it's so different for every single person. You know, you can have 5 autistic men, same age, you know, similar lifestyles, and they're all different, right?
Yeah.
But what's your sort of traits, if you want to call them that? What's your? Because remember when we spoke a while ago, you were talking about food, weren't you? Like saying chicken.
Oh yeah. So when it comes to, this is for me personally, but a lot of autistic people will probably experience similar things. So with autism, your kind of senses are kind of different.
Well, they say they're bigger, aren't they?
Yeah. So like, depending on the sense, like sound, if like someone has a Hoover on or a hand dryer, obviously most people probably won't annoy them or that, but it actually hurts my ears. Yeah. So if I'm in the kind of a public bathroom, and then I go and use the hand dryer, I'm like, I gotta prepare for it a little bit, because like I know it's gonna hurt my ears, because the decibels and that kind of stuff. And then when it comes to like,
just before you move on from that, for some people that will sound crazy.
Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, obviously, as you know, I recently got diagnosed with ADHD. I feel I wouldn't go to that extreme of that, but if something, you know, if we're in a restaurant and someone's talking, and I've locked onto them, I that is it. Then I'm game over. I'm listening to them for the whole.
Yeah.
And they're sort of things that I've actually had all my life and not realised what it was. Like, Sarah just thinks I'm being ignorant twat, but you know, it's one of those things. But or it could be something that someone's annoyed you, and that's it. Then I've got to say something.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? But you know, for just because obviously what you're saying there, that sounds crazy, doesn't it? What you've just said.
Yeah, to probably the general public, I think, oh, why is a hand dryer or a Hoover?
Yeah, but
like,
just actually explain that. What, like, because I mean, I've looked into it and I understand it, but it's just interesting for people to understand.
I guess with sound, I guess the best kind of example I can use with like pain tolerance and like for like I guess general things, like if someone slapped me across the face versus probably like did that I'd probably react more to like a little pinch than a slap, because I kind of processed that stimuli differently. So if someone hears a hand dryer and they're drying their hands, they just don't really think about it. But I'm probably hyper focused on that, because I know it hurts. It's going to be even worse because I'm expecting it to be bad.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was drunk, I wouldn't care, because like you don't really kind of process it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if I'm in the toilets drunk and drying my hands, it's fine, because my senses are less. Also, I'm not thinking I'm drunk. But if I'm in a gym or if I'm in public and washing my hands under a dryer, drying my hands under a dryer, I'm prepared for it, and then you think about it too much and you hyper focus, that kind of stuff. So you will use a hand dryer, yeah? I will use using that just one thing as an example. You're just preparing yourself ready to go and use it. Yeah, it's a bit like when I don't know, you're about to get, like, you're getting a massage or acupuncture, for example. When they put it in like that certain spot which is really tight, I mentally prepare by like grabbing the bottom of the bed or something. I'll do something so that I can still do what I need to do, but without affecting it badly. So it's a coping mechanism, I'd say.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Sorry, I just wanted to
It's all right.
dig into that because it's interesting, isn't it, to think about it and actually also question yourself is quite.
Yeah, when, like, for example, like with that topic, I don't really think about it much, but now when you kind of dig into it, you kind of opens up a lot of thoughts in your head that you don't really think about, I guess.
Yeah, but as well, off the back of this, I'd love it to help other people, you know.
Yeah.
And that's what this podcast is massively about. Bringing real life, you know, it says real life shit for a reason. You know, it's bringing real life shit to the table.
Yeah.
And within that journey, there's going to be, you know, because so many people could say they think they're autistic, they think they're ADHD, they think they're bipolar, whatever. OCD, you know, how many people would you go, oh, I've got OCD? It's like, have you actually got OCD, or have you got some OCD tendencies?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like everybody has certain traits of ADHD. Everybody has certain traits, and I believe that like massively because, you know, over the last year I've studied ADHD obsessively, like just to understand more and more about it. You know, for me, I got diagnosed with it simply because I was, you know, I'm 33 years old, but I was struggling. I felt like I was struggling in certain things, and the more I read up about it, the more I realised that there could be a relief of understanding things. You know, and this is what I find really interesting because being 14 was 14 for you. Yeah. Being 14 and learning it, the brain is not developed. As much as it. So I find this really interesting, and that's why, if I'm completely honest, I struggled quite a lot. You know, six odd months ago. You know, like a lot of stuff happened behind the scenes that I never really said to people, but it's all because I was trying to understand 33 years of my life. You know, whereas for you, you've gone from 14 to now 21.
So like another half of what that life was.
Yeah, and but again, it's you've had such an intense path in that period, haven't you?
Yeah, I guess clarity behind yourself is very important. If you know a lot about yourself, then you can work on what you're gonna do. So if you know you do this because of this reason, or you will think that way because of whatever you do have, it makes you feel more at ease, I think. So if you're more at ease, you can just do more. If you're overthinking too much because you don't understand it, you're going to overthink more and it's going to spiral out of control. I think no matter if you're autistic or not, if you overthink and you don't know why you're overthinking, it could get to the point where you just want to sit in bed and eat ice cream and just do nothing.
You question yourself all the time, don't you?
But if you know that it is you, and you're going to feel that way every now and again because it's like, it's normal, then you can kind of cope with it differently, and I think you can then move on from it and progress, not regress.
Yeah, no, I agree. So what would you say right now in your life? You know, obviously, I love to hear you say how good you feel now, and I see it because since I've known you, I mean, you've changed shape massively. What have you gone from? 160
to 128 kilo.
Yeah, and you know, the picture you sent the other day, I was like, who's this guy? You know, that one where he was quite jacked up. And,
pumped up.
Yeah, you know, and it's amazing to see. So would you say that plays an effect to your mental health?
Yeah, so I think people say the body's a temple. Yeah, it's a bit cliche and cringy, but I think it can be used well, because if you feel good and you look good, then everything else can kind of fall into place better. Like, I look good, so I'm more confident in public to kind of, I don't know, wear a vest or go talk to the people. But if I feel good, I can do more stuff. When I was at my heaviest, I'd wake up bloated. I hadn't eaten yet, and I wake up feeling like pregnant and bloated, and I just sleep terribly. Like I said, I had sleep apnea problems. I can get 14 hours sleep and still be tired. But everything, if you're healthy, you feel good, then life can be good. Yeah, that's the main thing. I sleep a lot better now. I was on sleep medication, migraine medication, all these different things. Obviously not all relating to my weight, but when I sorted out that and my life, it kind of had a ricochet effect to the point that now I'm not having that stuff.
Yeah. And you've just been approached by Calvin Klein, is it, to do the...
Yeah, the swimwear model.
Just throw that in there in case they see it. But yeah, so that's helped you massively, obviously, with that transition. What are you still struggling with? Do you know what I'm trying to say? If there's something that you could say.
I guess social anxiety. I guess that's a general thing with a lot of people. But like, for example, I was at an event the other day in Redditch, like the Hard Buddy event, which is like kind of a deadlift event. Obviously, I didn't do the comp. I really wanted to do it, but I obviously didn't do it.
You had to be chained to something.
Oh, my mates were looking at me like, oh, you can just see kind of the stress behind my eyes. But like, I didn't really want to. I want to talk to people and like, the influencers and that kind of stuff, even though they're just general people with like just a lot of followers. I was very kind of worried to do so, even though I'm like probably the biggest guy there and probably all that kind of stuff. People don't see that I may be big, strong, and happy, but there's that little 14-year-old Lewis who couldn't talk to anyone, and you kind of still think back to that. Now, even if you don't want to, your younger you will always be a part of you till you forever, and but you just how you kind of leave him behind a little bit until the point that you can do what you need to do in life. Because I was probably thinking, oh, I don't want to talk to them because I don't know if they'll be annoyed, or I don't want to talk to them because I don't know if they'll say hello back, that kind of stuff. Even though it's just small things, but for me it's big things.
Yeah, no, and I get that. Like, regardless of like neurological breakdowns or anything like that, everybody is either an introvert or an extrovert to a degree, isn't it? Like, obviously you got your middle fence people as well, but I'm very extreme. I'm a massive extrovert. I'm the sort of person that, and again I think it is an ADHD thing, but if a room's silent I have to say something. Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But I find it quite interesting, actually. You're quite the opposite, aren't you, in that respect? But you find that's more of an autism thing, don't you, where it's more about...
It depends on the kind of the social situation. Like, if I'm very comfortable, I can be the most extroverted person in the world. Like, if, like, for example, if I'm in, like, my gym, obviously I don't know everyone who trains at my gym. I work in my gym. I could happily just go in the middle of the gym and start screaming random stuff. I wouldn't care. But then if I was in a new gym, I don't know everyone, I wouldn't, even though I would be like quieter. Like, obviously when I first came here 2 years ago, I was probably like very, very timid and quiet, but now I'd happily just like do a lift and scream my head off because I'm happy, whereas probably 2 years ago I wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And which one is you being happy? Extreme Lewis or introvert?
It depends on the situation. I think if I'm gym, I like to be loud because that's kind of letting out that kind of built up energy over the day, or a bit of anger or a bit of sadness you can get out in the gym. But I guess in like, I don't know, if I'm out and having a meal with someone, I'm happy to be chill because I don't want to necessarily be the centre of attention. I want to have people talk to me and learn about what they've kind of gone through in the day. Like if I'm with my mates at like Nando's, I'd happy like let them talk and just sit there and listen because again, they're my mates. I want to know what's going on, especially if I haven't seen them for a while.
Yeah. But that's the thing, isn't it? The situation. I mean, everybody has situational differences, but you've got to really, I guess, you've got to scope it out, haven't you, and see who's around, see how you feel. But why would you feel that Mr. Whoever wouldn't speak to you?
I don't know.
Is that 14-year-old Lewis?
Yeah, I guess because from the age of like 5 to 14, that was a big chunk of your life, and I guess they're the most kind of, you learn a lot in those years.
So much.
So they're like your traits for the rest of your life. I think you can kind of get out of them to the point that they don't affect you as much. But I think no matter, I could be 55 years old talking to
you can never destroy them.
Yeah, they'll always be there. And if like you got a bit of heightened stress or anxiety, again, like they're gonna kind of show a bit more.
Yeah.
Like I know for a fact now with my Tourette's, I'm ticking quite a lot because obviously I've done a podcast a couple of times, but with kind of close quarter situations and talking, it's a lot different. So I know for a fact that I'm very hyper aware right now that I'm ticking, and I'm okay with that. Whereas if I was 14, I would have been like,
trying to fight it.
Yeah, and again, if you fight it, it's going to come out worse when you've finished.
Yeah. But that's something over time, isn't it? You become used to it. But it's a little bit like, I know it's quite a different thing, but it's just as a scenario. It's like having a spot on your forehead, right? And you're like, you're trying to cover it up because everyone's looking at it. Actually, it's like it's a spot.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
No.
I say that actually because I had quite bad acne when I was young.
Yeah.
And I went through a stage of like actually like wearing hats down here and all sorts. I had long hair. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But actually, like, it's like the spots.
It's not caring about the people's opinions which don't matter to you. I guess some people will, if it's like your family or your friends, you got to take on their criticism or whatnot.
Yeah.
If it actually matters, but it's you to decide if that actually matters. Like, I don't know, my friend could say something to me which just makes no sense. I'll just be okay, cool. But then if it is like not deep, but if it's like actually matters, then I'll obviously spend the time chatting to him and that kind of stuff. But if he's just made a funny remark, I'm like, yeah, cool, carry on.
Yeah.
But if he wants like some advice or if he wants a hug, then sound.
Yeah.
I'm there for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I guess that's all the stuff that you've learned as you've gone through as well, isn't it?
Like if it was me like when I was 15, and I could be like with a mate for example, and they could be talking to me, feeling a certain way. I might not know if they're sad. They could be, obviously if they're not crying. If they're crying, it's kind of obvious to tell. But from the tone of the voice, the body language, that kind of thing, I wouldn't know if they're sad. So nowadays, I'm really close to mates, and I'll give them a hug and they just feel better. Or I'll just like say, "You okay? Do you want to have a little chat?" Or I FaceTime them. But apart from that, it's kind of like you learn as you grow older, no matter who you are.
Yeah, no, I agree. Guys, I just want to stop you there and take your attention just for another minute. Now, obviously, as you know, this podcast is sponsored by Silverback Gymwear. Now, you won't have already been there because you're still on the same podcast, but you need to get yourself over to the website. There is a new range for the women's range in mid-July. You need to go over to there and have a look, whether it be for you or for somebody that you know. You need to buy yourself some of that gear. The quality is the number one thing that I always talk about with Silverback Gymwear. The quality is second to none, and I promise you now, you will wear it with pride. So click on the link and you'll be able to get discount for that today. Thank you very much for listening. So one of the things I want to speak about then, don't worry, is your Rubik's Cube.
I didn't know I was going with that.
No, so like I said earlier on about the whole it actually if you gave me one, you've not got one with you, have you?
No.
I think I'd actually be a little bit like panicky. What the fuck you do with it?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm just being serious. Can you do Rubik's Cube?
What's the technique?
But that's what I'm saying. Like, honestly, so something like that, and I get. I'm going to ask you questions about this anyway. But I get what you're saying about the whole just home your mind into this. But seriously, man, like,
when it comes to Rubik's Cube, I think anyone can do it if you've got like a tutorial. It's not,
and the patience. I think that's the thing that makes me anxious. I'm not joking. Like the thing that I look at, I go, what the hell do I do here? How quick can I can't do this.
Someone might say that about Strongman.
Yeah.
Say that about anything.
Yeah, I guess with
yeah.
photography.
How the fuck did you do that?
How'd you get the exposure right?
Yeah. No, it is true, but yeah. So why did you start doing the Rubik's Cube?
So
you said in the lockdown period.
I started it probably just before, but that's what got me through the lockdown. It was like the end of year 8. I was with my mate Cheng Hong Ren, and he was at my house. Yeah, he brought like loads of puzzles around, and obviously some of them were like Rubik's Cube, some of them were like actual like other puzzles. And he gave me the Rubik's Cube to like keep for a day, and I was like, I really want to solve this because like I said to my parents, can you solve this? No one that I knew could solve it, so I thought it's a challenge trying to be the first person I knew to solve it. It was on YouTube. I think I solved it for the first time for the tutorial in about 30 minutes. I was really happy. Then I realised,
30,
yeah.
30.
Yeah. So I was the videos were like 10 minutes long. I had to rewatch them parts. I was like, yeah, solved it. And then from there on out, I learned how like it's called notation. So like, you know how like you read and you know your alphabet. With Rubik's Cube, there's like notations for each kind of side. So if you're holding a Rubik's Cube, the top layer is called U for up, bottom layer is called D for down, right, left, forward, back. So, and then also there's like, for example, U, and then there's U with a dash. So with the dash it means anti-clockwise or clockwise. If without so basically, if it says R, you just move it the right side clockwise. If it says L, it'd actually be down, because if you look at their face,
because it's got
so you just have to learn from that, and then from there you then go on Google and it'll tell you like do these moves to do this certain thing you're trying to achieve. So an algorithm is a set of moves which will temporarily mess up the cube to do what you need to do, but then put back everything else normally. So obviously they've all been generated online, that kind of thing. So for example, if I wanted to, people tend to think it's side by side, but it's actually layer by layer. So if you start solving the white side, then the green side, then the yellow side, you're not going to be able to do it all because you're then going to mess it all up. But 90% of methods, it goes solve the one layer, the middle layer, and the top layer, because the algorithms you use will do the stuff you need it to do without messing up the bottom two or the bottom one.
Yeah.
And then
it's crazy.
yeah,
I wish I could zoom into his face.
I know, like literally.
Him acting like he understands everything. Like,
but the more advanced you get at it, like you can solve Rubik's cube, I think probably with about 15 algorithms. So if you learn 15
moves, yeah.
Yeah, so 15 set of moves, you can solve it the longest way because you repeat some of them quite a lot. But for example, like I at my peak when I was doing it like daily, when I remembered it all, I probably knew about 300. So I knew, but again, when it comes to Rubik's cube and like using your hands and your fingers, you don't actually know 300. It comes muscle memory. So you know if you're like driving a car and you go around a sharp bend every day, you know how much to kind of twist the wheel without having to think. When you pass your test, you're kind of like, oh, slow down, that kind of stuff. But you know how much to do it. I got to the point where I can do it now. I don't have to solve Rubik's cube for 3 years. I can still solve it in 12 seconds because it's just muscle memory at that point. But yeah, it's a good little brain teaser. It's a good party trick. Like I take it on the planes when I went to Tenerife the other week, and I had like two people next to me. I thought they were like 16, but they were like 25. A couple. I was like, oh, I thought they were younger than me.
Kids and everything.
Yeah.
You thought they were 16.
But I was talking to them, and then I started like chatting to them. And, oh, that's really cool. How'd you do that? I was like, that's the thing. People say, how'd you do that? I can explain it in layman's terms, but then I can't actually show you how to do it because if I can literally walk you through it for like 20 seconds, but you're not going to know.
Yeah, but it's going to take so long to process all the...
Yeah, then I made friends and started playing blackjack with them. So I was like, sound on the plane, killed 4 hours.
See, as an autistic thing as well, that's helped you then blend into being a friend with someone, right?
Exactly.
So here's my party trick. Who wants to understand it?
Because I actually had I think on the way back from Tenerife, I think for some reason I was solving it, and some elderly lady came up to me and asked if she could scramble it or something. I was like, yeah. So I gave it her, took it back and solved it in like 15 seconds. She's like, wow, that is a great young lad or something. But yeah, it's just a good kind of talking point in like social situations.
Just because I'm really interested in that. You know when you're twisting and turning and doing all your... What did you call them?
Algorithms.
Yeah. Forgot that's what it was. But yeah, so are you sometimes doing it wrong? Do you know what I'm saying? Because when I have seen you do it before, and sometimes you look like you're going back and forward a few times.
So...
Or is each thing a move?
It depends. So the better you get, it's something called look ahead. So if you know the set of moves you're doing, as you're doing it, you can try and look ahead around the cube to the next point. Yeah, so that's how people are so fast. That's how they solve it in like 6 seconds. Then like, you get 15 seconds to look at the cube, then you put it down, start the timer and go. And some people can plan out, if they're really good, like the first 20 moves in the solve. And then what they can do those 20 moves because they've planned them out and start looking ahead to the next 10 moves. Then when they're doing those next 10 moves, whereas for me, I can probably do like an algorithm and I can start looking ahead a little bit. Whereas then if people start, they'll just be doing it one step at a time. Whereas the faster you get, it's something called TPS, turns per second.
Yeah.
So the more turns you can do per second on average with the less moves, the better. So like, I could turn a Rubik's cube if I was just doing an algorithm at like 13 turns per second, like, whereas an actual really elite cuber could do 13 turns per second the whole solve, because they can literally do all the turns, keep looking ahead the whole time, whereas like I'm not that good.
What's your fastest ever?
I've done in competition 7.4 seconds.
And where's that? Like, I mean, it's insanely fast. I know that.
In the UK, I think it's probably 50th,
which is insane, right?
Yeah. But back when I did it, it's probably like 30 or 40. But to be honest, like I do kind of keep up to date with it because I used to do it obviously a lot. Because I did a 2x2 Rubik's cube in 0.99 seconds in 2018. That actually put me a third in the UK. I think I'm like 5th now. But it was. I had the cube, had 15 seconds to look at it. I knew the whole solve straight away. So obviously it's 0.99 seconds. So if you didn't know, then you're very lucky. It was 8 moves. I planned it all out, and I put the cube down. Did 8 moves, put it down under a second.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a video of that?
Yeah, is there?
No, but I got a picture of me with the time.
Send us a video of you doing it so we can stick it up on this.
I got some videos, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least send the time up.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
The picture of you with the time up.
I got a picture of me with the timer, yeah, and also it's on
Instagram.
World Cube Association, which is like, it's like the database for Rubik's cubes.
Yeah.
And to be fair, there's probably like 100,000 people that do it across the world now. Like, compete.
Yeah.
I think back when I was doing it in 2015, there's probably like 40,000, and it's growing exponentially. There's prize money and everything now.
That's the thing, isn't it? And it's the same with everything, especially, nowadays.
Social media.
I know we always say it, but nowadays everything is obsessed, isn't it?
Yeah.
To a degree of whoever's within that circle.
Yeah, because it got broken the other day, the world record, 3.13 seconds. And that world record was standing since 2018. So since when I stopped Rubik's Cube properly, like in 2018, the Rubik's Cube world record has still been the same until like 2 weeks ago. And the dude who got it, he's also autistic.
Yeah.
But he's like...
Do you find that's a thing though? Like genuinely, like is it quite an autistic...
It's apparent, but with the dude who broke the world record, he's been breaking world records in all the events for the last 10 years. But he actually has a kind of a similar, not as me. He's high functioning, but then his social interactions isn't as good. His name is Max Park, but he's actually got quite a few documentaries coming out about like how autism and how the Rubik's Cube kind of changed his life, how the Rubik's Cube changed his life for autism, and it's really, really like good because he's had many like Guinness World Records, that kind of stuff, and Rubik's Cube itself coming out and helping him film some stuff for his social profile, but also to help other people.
Yeah, of course, because it's getting that message out, isn't it, to help other people to understand that. Well, I know it sounds cheesy, but you can say anything to save your life, can't you? Like,
yeah.
And I actually say it about Strongman without it sounding too cheesy. Like, Strongman's one of the things that I wouldn't say saved my life, but it's kept me on a very good track.
Yeah.
I'm a very obsessive person, and whatever I do it obsessively. So
yeah.
Luckily, it's a good obsession as such, and that's why I always think about that. But yeah, so okay, so what's next for you then? Like in life, I mean, obviously, we've transitioned recently from Mark coaching you to obviously now you jumped on board with me.
Yep.
Which I'm looking forward to.
Me too.
And obviously, for me as well, just to throw this bit in there, like one of the big things that we want to focus on now is it's the journey, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the journey of actually where you're going. And I'll say this proudly in front of people on camera as well. Like, I have massive expectations of you in a positive way because I know that you have it in you to achieve, what we've spoke about and what you've set out for, without sharing too much.
Yeah, I think with me, it's about being known as a strongman competitor, because until probably like February I was known as the deadlift guy.
Yeah.
And I still am. Like, I can, in my local area, like I've actually had people come up to me and just start doing this. Like, they know me as just a deadlift person, or like if I'm in a pub or something.
Is that their deadlift version?
Yeah, even though they're doing the shoulder rate.
So it's like when your grandma says, "Are you doing that muscle thing still?" You mean the gym?
Yeah. But yeah, I want to be world's strongest man. I don't want to be a 505 kilo deadlifter and that's it. I want to achieve my max potential, and I want to be the best I can be in all aspects of life. I don't want to just be a world's strongest man. I want to be a good friend to my mates. I want to be hopefully a good son, hopefully a good client, that kind of stuff. I want to have positive outlet on everything I do. That's the kind of the aim, because I know that when you have negativity in whatever situation, it kind of then spreads over to the other kind of things.
Over.
Yeah.
I have a question. Would you ever mentor other autistic children?
I've actually had probably 5-10 probably lads over the course of the last year messaging me saying how I've like kind of inspired them to kind of start doing either Rubik's Cube or Strongman or wherever it may be, lose some weight, and it's kind of it's really nice, because obviously I get a few DM requests. I don't get enough to the point where I can't respond to them, so I'm in their DM requests or my messages and I respond to them with a pretty good paragraph or whatever it may be. And I guess that I would always do that because I wish that if I, for example, messaged someone like back when I was younger, when social media wasn't as apparent when I was younger, like when I was 12, for example. But if when I was like 14, I can message someone who's inspired me for whatever reason, if they replied, I would have been ecstatic. A bit like when Luke Stoltman in February, March last year, he shared my post, DM'd me. I was at the Rubik's Cube Camp at that point. I was on the verge of crying in the middle of it in a hall because I was like, oh my god, one of my idols has just followed me, messaged me, shared my stories. Like, it was so overwhelming, but like in a good way. And I guess people think, oh, they'll think, oh, some 35-year-old man's just said your stuff. Why is that so important to you? But it is so important to me because obviously Luke to Tom is like Mark was to me because obviously Luke's helped Tom a great deal and obviously Mark's helped me a great deal. So it was kind of like I'm kind of expanding, not my family, but I'm expanding like kind of my kind of
network.
Yeah, network.
Yeah. No, but the thing is, like you're 100% right, man. And again, I know I say this a lot, but that's why I've set this podcast up. You know, because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know, off the back of you and your life, that's why we dig into that and passing on and extending the network to help other people.
Yeah.
Just to clarify for the viewers, what question did I ask Lewis?
Yeah, so obviously, it's about So the question was like, obviously, you know, would you mentor other people? But with you helping other people as well, it's that relatability, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially, you know, I actually said this to you the other day, didn't I? Like, ironically, we've had quite a few autistic people come here in the last year or so. Yeah. It's like the other day I met another guy who 16, you know, wicked guy, you know, lovely lad. But as soon as he came in, I could tell he wasn't 100% comfortable. And his mum was here. He was 16. I mean, he was a big boy. He was probably about your sort of size, not height though.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I was like, this guy's, you know.
He's deadlifting 160.
Yeah. No, he was like near to 200. I'm sure he was. Yeah. But I was like, Jesus Christ, he's 16. You know, but at the door and stuff, we had such a good chat, and he was like, yeah, you know, we just seen this place, and we just thought it would look like the type of place that he could get into.
Yeah.
And, you know, I love that thought that people feed off the people.
Yeah, the comfortability, like you said, like, if people see people who are alike to them in that kind of social setting or like a gym or that kind of a place, they will feel comfortable to then go to that place and hopefully get a similar kind of result. Like, if I went to a gym, like if I came here because I knew Mark was here. The first thing Mark said to me when I met him for the first time in the gym was, "How are the lights? How's the sound? That kind of stuff."
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And like that was new to me. I was literally, even if I was in like CAMS, which is like the kind of child adolescence thing, I never had that. Like I'd be in the waiting room, go in the room, they're doing my blood pressure, weight, all that kind of stuff, and they just talk to you. But then Mark had that kind of, not it's personal,
further touch, isn't it?
Yeah, and it goes a long way. Like the actual detail, like the attention to detail, is so important, especially with neurodiverse people. It's like if you got like little extra centimetre, that extra like little bit to ask them a personal thing, but not too personal, then it can go a long way. Like obviously for me, I was fine, but other people may have been like, "Oh, okay, yeah, actually, can you turn the music down a little bit? Oh, can the lights be dimmed or something?"
Yeah. Just touching on something like not long ago, I won't say his name just in case he doesn't want me to say it, but it's there was someone a while ago who has dyspraxia. No,
dyspraxia is.
Yeah, not dyspraxia. It's the wrong word.
Dyslexia.
What's the other autism?
Asperger's.
Sorry, don't know why dyspraxia came into my head. Asperger's. So he's got Asperger's. He doesn't like people touching him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something that, again, it's one of those things, isn't it, where I'm a very touchy person, yeah? I like to, you know...
Tap on the back.
Whether it's just... Touch goes a long way to me, because it's a connection thing.
Yeah.
And I like to do that, whereas some people don't like that.
Yeah.
And that was something I had to learn with him. Because it was like, okay, that's fine. Do you know what I'm saying? But quite often it can come across as like a bit like, why? What's your problem?
Yeah,
and
unless
actually,
you know
when
why.
you understand it's a thing, then it's like, okay, you've got to respect that, because that's keeping that, you know, in that comfort zone sort of thing. But yeah, it's even things like that, isn't it? Which is quite crazy. So, where are you going next, Lewis? What is happening?
Well, as long as I progress and kind of keep healing and getting out of my injuries, an injury with my hamstring, I'd like to do the deadlift world record at the Andy Bolton Deadlift Challenge, which is 8th of October.
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know how many months that is. 3.
Yes, it is.
Something like that, yeah.
Just over 3, isn't it? Yeah.
So whatever it may be at that point, that's what I want to do. And then just qualify for some big comps. I don't want to be doing any more junior comps under 23s. Obviously record attempts, I'll do the juniors because I am a junior. But for me personally, I'd I don't want to be known as Europe's strongest junior or the strongest junior in the UK. I want to eventually get to the point where I can do the OSG Worlds, OSG Europes, Giants live shows, that kind of stuff. And I want to kind of go at a good rate to the point that I'm there eventually. I don't want to be there tomorrow, but I want to get to the point where I'm getting my kind of dipping my toe in the water at that point, and then eventually everyone who does strongman to a good level, they want to be at the world's strongest man, then they want to win it. So I guess it's a stepping stone each time. Do the comps you need to do, get the experience, learn about yourself, like learn what you did wrong, what you did well, and eventually, hopefully, I'll be there one day.
Which I 100% agree, and I believe you will be.
Thank you.
I think the big thing now is, for me as well, it's about understanding, it's absorbing the journey.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because you are a hell of an athlete, you have insane strength, your fitness is good, you know what I mean, you've changed so much in a short space of time, I'll say.
Yeah.
It's making sure that now that as we go through your journey, we're actually absorbing the
highs
small,
and the lows.
Yeah, and the small steps, because, you know, yes, you can jump, but jumping doesn't serve you long term, does it? Because at the end of the day, if you jump and skip a, you know, level as such, then it's gonna bite you in the ass at some point.
Yeah.
You know, you've still got age on your side, and the ability that you have at the age you are at right now, you have so much to offer.
Yeah, still lots and lots to learn.
Yeah, agree. So Lewis, thanks a lot for sharing everything you have today.
Thank you for having me.
I've learnt a lot. I mean, you know, I know we're close anyway, but like I say, I love to dig into these things, and you know, I mean it when I say it. I appreciate you, you know, going into the depth of you know, the autism side of things.
Yeah.
Again, like, it will help people massively. I know it will.
Yeah.
And I love to feel that, you know, off the back of this, people will, you know, get something out of it. I mean, again, like, one of the reasons I set the podcast is because of the amount of messages and stuff that I get. I can't quite manage everything.
Yeah.
Whereas in a podcast, there's so much things
you
that
can
people
dive
can,
into.
Yeah, that, you know, people just listen and enjoy it, and not have to, you know, ask so much questions, I guess, because it's all there for people to, you know, watch and listen. But where can people find you and follow you?
So on my Instagram is Lewis_Byng. Just give me a follow on there. If you want to chat to me, send me a DM, no matter what it is. If you want to have a little talk about autism, general life, I'm happy to have a talk. My DMs are open, especially, it was Mental Health Month last month, but you don't really see too much about that, so we just want to kind of get that out there.
Yeah, appreciate it. And obviously, you know, reach out to Lewis if you have got you know, something that you can help with, isn't it? Like, it's, you know, about spreading the love and making or helping people feel, let's say, normal.
Yeah.
Whatever normal is, because
Yeah.
we all feel like we're missing that.
They feel like they're fitting a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, appreciate it, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
dude.
And we've got a massive journey ahead.
Yeah, man.